Hello, my name is Tom Daly, and I'll be walking you through the quick demonstration of the Benefitsync private exchange, benefits administration, and HR support platform. There are a couple of different personas that have the ability to log in and user profiles that exist within this system. One is an agent or agency administrator. Another is an employer or employee administrator, and I'm going to show you a couple of those views here real quickly. First, I'm going to start by showing you a sample agent view. So I'm logging in right now as one of the sample agents that we have set up here in the system. So we got a sample agent here. Lano is the name of the agency, and I got a couple of existing employer groups that I've set up here. I'm going to show you a little bit of the functionality on the agent side, and then I'm going to dig into a little bit more of the functionality on the employer side in a second. But the primary role for an agent or agency, and this is actually an agency login here, because you can see we have the agency profile field here, and this person can actually name additional agents as part of their agency as well, but they can also create employer groups or employer clients as an agent themselves. So real quickly, there's two, like I said, added here, and it's just as simple as clicking the Add Employer button on the side here and designating a name of an employee to go ahead and add that employer and have them listed in the list of employers in the home page here. But I'm going to drill in real quickly to an employer view, and then I'm going to go into more depth in that employer view from the employer login itself. But Arts Council of New Orleans is a plan that I've created. Once you click this link, it's going to take you to a shared administrative platform that both the agent and the employer have access to. So if you take a quick look at this, you're going to see this in another form in just a second. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and log out as the agent, and I'm going to log in as an employer. So Arts Council of New Orleans is the employer that I'm logging in as. And as an employer is also an employee. So first off, it's asking me if I wanted to add any new employees. That's a unique view and access that an employer would have. Just like an agency can create additional agents, an employer can create additional employees. But we're not going to do additional employees right now. And we are looking at the dashboard, which is identical to what an employee dashboard would look like, with the exception of some of the tabs here at the top that only an employer has access to that an employee would not. So first off, the dashboard is where we are right now, and this is what an employee would see. An employee would also, if they have the availability of any of these individual plan options here, which are all different types of reimbursement plans: dependent care account reimbursement, parking expense, flexible spending, wellness incentives, expense reimbursements, are all examples of accounts that can be provided by an employer and reimbursements made to employees. So there's a claim submission button that an employee would have access to, as well as the employer. And there's also a Shop Now button, which I'll show you in a second as well, where an employee or employer, depending on who has access, can go in and shop for individual policies if that employer either doesn't provide group plans for them to access, or if they're in a class of employees that's excluded for some reason, like a part-time class or a independent contractor type of a class of employee, those folks might not have access to group plans to choose from, so they might actually need to have access to an individual plan in order to satisfy their responsibilities under the Affordable Care Act. But you can see here individual plans and group plans. Another tab that's unique to the employer is this HR Sync tab. This is an HR portal that we have access to and provide for free to all of our Benefitsync clients. This is something that, again, like I said, we do rent access to, but it's attorney-reviewed sample forms and policies and procedures on a whole host of different levels for employers. Some great resources here, just off the top of my head, include like sample job description builders, sample job descriptions, policies and procedure manuals, sample employee handbooks, some harassment policies, SPDs, termination forms, onboarding process, all the state-specific forms, etc. So there's just an absolute wealth of information available to someone that wants to go looking here at the HRSync portal. In addition to this, this is a platform for HR support, but this doesn't mean that everything's a do-it-yourself environment here. We actually have HR professionals on staff to collaborate with an employer that's going through a policy review of any kind and give them some feedback on whether that's appropriate, as well as take them from start to finish through that process. So this is a great tool that's available for folks here. There's a process claim button, and that exists because this employer has been designated as a claims processor for any of those individual plans that we mentioned on the enrollment page or the dashboard page here. These accounts that are eligible for reimbursement, this person is set up as a claims processor, so when a claim is made, they get the claim here to process. They can run a number of reports as well on anything, any bit of data in and out of this system they can run reports on as well. And they, like I said, as an individual employee, they can shop for different plans. Some nice features of this, if I can just show real quickly how this works, is you enter basic information. I'm going to make myself nice and young here, so I feel pretty good about myself. But this is going out to the marketplace, and this is accessing any and all individual policy for health insurance that's available to this this person based on their zip code and their basic demographics. So it's pulling that information right now, and then it's going to pull it together in a nice summary format here in a second. You can see all these different plans listed from a number of different carriers. You can sort by a number of items like plan type or deductible or coverage or copay or carrier, or whether or not it has tax credits available for it or not. They also added a little estimate subsidy feature here where I can say, okay, I'm a part-time person earning $18,000 a year and I have one person in my family, so they'll actually show me what it is minus the subsidy that I'm eligible for of $211, what the cost of these plans are, and there are a number that I can buy without any contribution at all from my side. So this is a nice, neat feature, again, for those employers that don't offer anything today. They know that their employees have to provide something or get something in order to satisfy that mandate, but they don't provide anything for them. Instead of sending them off to healthcare.gov to take their chances, they can have a nice kind of advocacy-enabled access to a portal like this and have someone personally to hold their hand through the application process as well. So these are kind of all the inherent features that are built in for an employer and an employee. As I mentioned, here's another unique access that an employer would have access to. The employer administrator is they have access to, remember we talked a little bit ago about those plan design fields that existed, and you saw that this mirrors exactly what that the agent that set this plan up had access to as well. So both either the employer or the agent can create and maintain the profile information, but can create and maintain any of all of these types of expense reimbursement plans as well. They can also designate classes of employees and say which benefits or eligible employees have available to them or not. They can enter all their employees, and they can also have individual employee logins and individual access to information, and they can upload a multiple employee file as well, and as well as export that information to other vendors that would use it as well. Processors, I mentioned, can be an internal or external resource. And then there's also a way to set up group plans, and group plans are going to typically have an annual cycle to them that includes a window that the employee is available to enroll in those plans, and then the effective date and expirations of the plans. So you have some of those things that are mentioned there. And we can add additional plans here. We can add the employer and employee contributions here as well, and provide an electronic way for employees to enroll in and make those elections, as well as capture whatever additional information is required from them to complete that enrollment, whether that's typically done in paper form, but it's just a data capture mechanism. There's also a nice, easy dashboard for an employer and or their broker to keep track of who's enrolled and who hasn't in all those different group plans that are offered. And then finally, and this is a nice, neat new feature that we have here, and I'm going to show you this as a separate login, employee login in a second as well, but an employer can add documents to their plan. Exchange notices are required by all employers of all sizes, so they can put that exchange notice right there in their plan. They can put an employee handbook right there in their plan, and they can also, when they're adding a document, they can choose a file. They can add it. If they add a PDF document, they can say that this document either requires acknowledgement or doesn't, which means they're going to time, date, stamp when that person opens and reviews that. Also, they can say that designate that this is a dynamic document. A dynamic document would have fields that are either employee profile fields or employer profile fields that it's going to pull from this application and pull into those different documents. So when you create a document in PDF that requires acknowledgments in dynamic, it would come as a pre-populated document when an employer opens it and they're logged into the system. But this is a nice, easy way to automate some pieces of the enrollment process. You could put I-4s, W-9s, any and everything related to the onboarding process can be put here and automated, at least from the standpoint of making sure that somebody's gotten the information and signed off for it or actually completed some additional information. So that is the gist of the Benefitsync, Benefits Administration, Private Exchange, and HR Support Platform. If you have any questions or want to hear any additional information about this, please don't hesitate to ask. We'll be happy to help. Thank you very much.